Welcome to the May meeting of the Portsmouth Police Commission. I'd ask Commissioner Lieberman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did good elementary school.
Pressure. No, you're under pressure there. Just 25
You have a motion?
I do. I would like to make a motion that we suspend the agenda and go to the vesting of ranking ceremony and recognition ceremony.
And perhaps the accreditation
Yes,
award?
please, the accreditation award and update.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to start off with the vesting of rank ceremony. We're here to recognize and celebrate an important professional milestone within the Portsmouth Police Department. Tonight's vesting of rank ceremony marks not only a significant achievement for Lieutenant Tom Sitchko, but also an important moment for this department and the community we proudly serve. Promotion to the rank of lieutenant is earned through years of dedication, leadership, integrity, and unwavering commitment to public service. It reflects the confidence this department places in an officer to take on greater responsibility and to lead officers by example. It's my honor to officially vest our newest lieutenant with the authority and responsibilities of the rank. Lieutenant Sitchko, please step up here to the podium. I'm going to stand over here. Lieutenant Sitchko brings with him a wealth of experience and a strong record of service. He is currently in his 10th year with the Portsmouth Police Department and previously served 14 years with the North Olmsted Police Department in Ohio. Prior to his law enforcement career, he also served 4 years as a parole officer for the state of Ohio, further demonstrating his long-standing commitment to public safety and community service. During his tenure with the Portsmouth Police Department, Lieutenant Sitchko has consistently distinguished himself through professionalism, initiative, and leadership. In November of 2022, after 6 years with the department, he was promoted to the rank of patrol sergeant. In July of 2023, he became commander of the drone unit, where he oversees all drone operations and supervises a team of 10 members. Throughout his career with Portsmouth Police, he's also served as a member of the motorcycle unit, crime scene team, and as a field training officer, helping mentor and prepare the next generation of officers. Lieutenant Sitchko is a graduate of the Ohio State University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Tom is a devoted husband and family man, married to his wife for nearly 9 years, and proud stepfather to 2 children. Following a competitive selection process conducted on March 17th, 2026, Tom was selected for the promotion to the rank of lieutenant. It is my distinct honor to formally vest him with the authority of his new position. By virtue of the authority vested in me through the Commission by RSA 105-CA and the Portsmouth City Charter Amendment E, trusting in your experience, integrity, and fidelity, I do hereby promote you to the position of lieutenant with the Portsmouth Police Department with all the power and authority and subject to all the duties and liabilities of the position. Congratulations.
My wife couldn't be here. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to recognize Officers Sarah Kotz, Nick DiGattano, Christian Pete, and Mark Dente, who can't be with us, but if you guys could all step up here, appreciate it. As we continue this evening's ceremony, we now turn our attention to recognizing members of the Portsmouth Police Department's drone team for their outstanding professionalism, dedication, and courage demonstrated while providing mutual aid during a critical incident in Raymond, New Hampshire on April 4th of this year. On that evening, law enforcement agencies responding to a rapidly evolving situation involving an armed suspect who had fired upon civilians and wounded a police officer. As the incident unfolded, members of the Portsmouth Police Department drone team were deployed to assist with aerial support during the large-scale search operation that followed. From the outset, these officers played an essential role in establishing and maintaining drone operations that provided real-time intelligence and enhanced situational awareness for officers on the ground. Operating in darkness and cold conditions, the team maintained continuous aerial surveillance for more than 6 hours without interruption. A remarkable demonstration of endurance, focus, and commitment to the mission. Throughout the operation, the drone team significantly enhanced officer safety and operational coordination. Their ability to guide ground units through a complex search area provided critical support to tactical personnel working under extremely high-risk conditions. Most notably, the team's monitoring and tracking of thermal heat signature, later confirmed to be the suspect, proved to be instrumental in bringing the incident to a safe conclusion. Their aerial surveillance allowed tactical teams to safely approach and engage the suspect, ultimately ending the threat and protecting both officers and members of the community from further harm. The actions of these officers exemplify the very best of modern policing: professionalism under pressure, technical expertise, teamwork, and unwavering dedication to public safety. Their performance during the operation reflects great credit upon themselves, the Portsmouth Police Department, and the law enforcement profession as a whole. Tonight is my honor to formally recognize Officer Coates, Officer DiGattano, Officer Pete, and Officer Dente for their exceptional service, commitment, and contributions to the successful resolution of this incident. Please join me in congratulating and thanking these officers for their outstanding work and dedication to our community. That'll conclude our ceremony. If you want to stay for the rest of the mission, you're welcome. If not, you can leave now.
It was really nice. It's freezing in here.
We're going to do Mark, we're going to do the accreditation.
You can bring it up now if you'd like.
Excuse me?
You can bring it up now if you'd like, or it's up to you guys.
We'll do it later.
All right. Make them lunch.
I wanted to point out, before we move on to the next part of the agenda, I wanted to point out
Somebody get a stand.
the 4 officers who were just recognized for their work on the drone unit. It's an example of, Portsmouth Police Department is an asset not only to the city of Portsmouth, but to the surrounding area too. And the Seacoast is lucky to have the Portsmouth Police Department, not only the city of Portsmouth. So congratulations to the department. Can I have a motion relating to the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the April 21st, 2026 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We now have the opportunity for public comment. I ask any speakers to state their name and address before addressing the topic, and each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Yeah, go right up to the microphone.
My name is Vicki Haskell. I live at 360 Leslie Drive in Portsmouth.
I already provided, she already has one. I have one. He has one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me put a timer on so I don't go over. Good evening. My name is Vicki Haskell. I'm a disabled Portsmouth resident and former local fire department member with 15 years of combined public service. I'm here because on July 1st, 2025, my life was permanently changed after interactions with members of the Portsmouth Police Department. I'm asking the Commission for accountability, transparency, and an independent investigation. I repeatedly informed the officers that I have brain injuries, neurological disabilities, PTSD, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, and my bones and joints rupture. I repeatedly begged the officers, please slow down, explain, please understand, please tell me what's happening. I don't understand. I have a brain injury. I'm not trying to upset you. I was thrown to the ground and I was dragged. My father and I repeatedly requested to see a warrant or whatever because I had no idea why they were there. Apparently, a therapist at Seacoast Mental Health called and got an, I don't know the name of it, for people to be admitted. But she did that because I canceled an appointment. She didn't speak to my doctor. She didn't speak to my psychiatrist. There was no reason for me to be taken, and I had no due process. Now I have a vascular injury and multiple other surgeries that I need. Officer Connors, after I was, I'm sorry, this is out of order. Officers refused to meaningfully explain or help with accommodate my disabilities. I believe my ADA rights were violated. I was dragged approximately 200 yards without my ankle braces, and when I begged for them and said I needed them to walk and I would walk with them, they laughed and said, "You're not going to need those where you're going. I need them to walk." So where were they taking me that I didn't need to walk? Because of my connective tissue disorder and forcefully being pulled, I now have multiple injuries, including torn ankle ligaments, a 7 to 8 centimeter large tibial cyst inside the bone, compression fractures in my spine, severe spinal instability, these leg braces, this back brace. When I was dragged down the street, they were making fun of me. Officer Connors then placed me inside an SUV with the windows closed. It was July 1st, 2025. The dashboard displayed 99 degrees Fahrenheit. I had been sitting in my backyard talking with my parents and going in to make them dinner. I helped take care of my mother and father, and my father is here. He was a witness. I sat there injured, overheated, and trying to reset my own shoulder because it had been subluxated because they ripped my arms and put them behind me in a small pair of handcuffs when I have large wrists. I now have damage to my right wrist as well. Lieutenant Keeberd decided to tell my elderly parents someone matching my description had been seen on local bridges the previous 2 nights. My parents are 83 and 86 years old, and they're lifetime members of this community. It was a lie. I filed a right to know request. That did not happen. There are 4 officers at my home. I have 2 videos which are highly edited and not okay. I decided, because of my years on the fire department, that I was going to go to Mark Newport. because he's supposed to be the chief. He not only didn't actually really listen to me, he then called me he said, "Are you a witch?" and grunted at me as I was leaving. I had been discussing with him, could I work with his social worker, Brooke, which I now see was a really bad idea, and him, or just Brooke and me, to come up with a plan to help train your officers on how to deal with people with brain injuries and connective tissue disorders. He grunted at me, said no, closed his eyes during the meeting, and never spoke again until we left the room in the recorded lobby on September 24th around 11:45 a.m. You will hear him say, "What are you, a witch?" and grunt at me. I was absolutely terrified, and I said, "No, I'm a Christian." Because they had already thrown me in a mental facility when I didn't have a mental health issue. You are not saving people in this community. You are harming them. I was okay before this. I canceled my therapy appointment because I was treating trigeminal neuralgia, a cranial nerve disorder that sends electric shooting pains through my face 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I needed to cancel it so I can stay home and use my medical marijuana at 7 a.m. Your officers continued to say that I was high at 4:30 p.m., which I was not, and then dragged me, injured me, and abused me. I am hoping that this city can take some accountability, that I get an apology, and that something is done about this, because this can never happen to another citizen. On the No King's Day March, I demanded an apology from Mark Newport. Not only did he not apologize, he said, "I don't know what you're talking about, crazy lady." So yes, you did. You know it. And then, when I repeated what he had said, even though he knew darn well what he had said, he said, "I didn't say that. I asked if you were into witchery." That is a 15th century archaic word used before they burned women. This is not acceptable, and I spoke to your women's studies teacher at my church. She's not impressed either. I'm just hoping you can do something about this, because this is not right. I don't feel safe in the community that my family helped found. Do you have any questions for me?
The procedure for a public comment is we listen to
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with Ms. Haskell.
Thank you very much. Oh,
Are there any
speak to my father?
other witnesses? Any other people wishing to make a public comment?
Anyway, I am George Haskell. I've lived in the city all my life, as my father and his father. I did ask for some warrants or something when 3 officers came in our backyard. We were under a tent, hanging out. And nope, they didn't ask anything. And they sort of roughed her up a little bit. And then he dragged her down the street. I don't know why they parked the car like 5 houses down. But on the way out, I saw a lieutenant, and I said, "What's this all about?" Well, there was some mental thing, health thing that came up, and we figured we had to pick her up. But I understand that one of the reports said that he came into our backyard to discuss this with us. He was out in the middle of the street. The 3 officers walked into the yard, dragged her down the street. That's all I can really say. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? I assume there's nobody online. So ends our public comment period. Next, a new business, a facilities update. The Municipal Building Blue Ribbon Committee update. I don't know, Chief, if you want to say anything, or if you want me to say.
You can comment if you'd like, and then I can respond to something.
We had our latest Blue Ribbon Committee hearing 2 weeks ago, I think, at this point, a week or two ago. And what we talked about at that hearing, the architect and planners provided us with three different options, Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, of configuring a remodeled police department and a remodeled city hall. They differ somewhat, and we had some discussion about that. One of the things that was not included in those plans was this space here extending out to the front. There was some feeling that we could use some of this space to create better options for how we're trying to reconfigure the city offices and the police department. So my understanding is we still haven't heard any cost estimates for any of these plans. My understanding is we expect if I'm not mistaken, in June or July to start hearing a little bit about cost estimates. They're in the process of working on those, and that will be, that will drive pretty much all the decisions of how we reconfigure things. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
I think you covered it all. I think we're progressing. Looking at this space here was not really included in some of their other proposals, so that offered up a lot of opportunities for some other decisions that hopefully will come in fiscally in a better position than prior additions.
It appears in all three of the plans that were offered that there will be a small addition that would extend from what is now the public entrance to the police department, moving out a little bit into the parking lot. It is anticipated it will have relatively little effect on the sight lines for the farmers market and those living near the farmers market. So things move forward. Hopefully we'll get to a good place sooner rather than later. The next public meeting, by the way, is June 17th at 3 p.m.
16th.
Is it the 16th? I have on my sheet it says the 17th. But
Is the 17th, okay.
and you can check the
Well, I thought you were talking about commission meeting. Sorry.
so the Blue Ribbon Committee's next meeting will be June 17th at 3 p.m. Wednesday in Conference Room A, adjacent to this chamber. As always, I encourage people who are interested in this to show up. Input matters. The Blue Ribbon Committee members hear what people say and where our resources should be allocated. So I encourage anyone who has any interest or opinion, strong or otherwise, to show up and speak out. Anything further on that?
Thank you.
Dispatch remediation update?
I can speak on that. It's moving pretty swiftly. Last week we emptied it out and got everything out of there. This week they've started the mold remediation. So hopefully they'll finish that by the end of the week, and then next week could hopefully start to rebuild the dispatch center.
And will be done by?
A date to be determined.
September 1.
Thank you for that. And I think we have an accreditation award and update. Is that correct?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Young. I'm the accreditation manager with the Portsmouth Police Department. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come this evening and present to you about our accreditation programs and some updates. Accreditation does sometimes fall a little bit under the radar when it comes to law enforcement and what's going on at our agency. But that's kind of how it should work. Agencies that are successful in accreditation integrate the process. We integrate the requirements, the compliance right into our everyday practices. It becomes part of the fabric of how the agency operates. And Portsmouth does that really pretty well, because it has, over the last several years, really become part of how the agency operates every day. We are now accredited through 2 programs. So we have CALIA Advanced Accreditation and recently state accreditation as well. So just give you a little brief kind of background so that there's a little clarity on the programs. CALIA is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. It was created back in 1979 in large part in response to reputation challenges that law enforcement agencies faced in the 60s and the 70s. And now CALIA is the accreditation, they have accreditation programs for law enforcement, corrections facilities, communication centers, and training academies. So there are accreditation programs through CALIA for all of those aspects of public safety. For us, there are 2 tiers of CALIA accreditation. There's Tier 1, and then there's advanced accreditation. So Portsmouth Police is advanced accredited. So that means that through CALIA, we meet more than 450 standards. We provide thousands of proofs of compliance to meet those standards annually and demonstrate our compliance with those standards. We began the process to become CALIA accredited through their advanced program back in 2017, thanks to the hard work of Jackie, who was doing that when she started, and many others. We achieved initial accreditation through CALIA in 2019. We've successfully maintained accreditation compliance since then. We just completed a remote review last week, and our next milestone with CALIA will be in January and February of 2027. That upcoming review is kind of the CALIA big show. That is when we have a remote file review followed by an on-site assessment. So that's what we all work really hard to get ready for every 4 years. An assessor comes to the agency, spends 3 or 4 days, spends time at the PD. They tour the PD, they look through every element with a fine-tooth comb, our evidence, our files, whether the doors lock, whether the files lock. They look at everything. They'll interview key personnel. They might tour other locations. They'll look at City Hall. They might go look at the schools that our SROs are working in. And we also take the opportunity to demo key parts of the agency that we want to highlight while the assessor is visiting. So that's when we bring out the K9 teams, that's when we fly the drones, and we show them all the wonderful things that our agency is doing as part of our everyday. We demonstrate, what we presented recognition for this evening in terms of the drone team and their response to that incident. That's something that we can demonstrate to that assessor when they're here for their on-site review. So then following that, we attend a hearing. That hearing will be in May of 2027. We sit before a CALIA panel, not unlike what we're doing right now, and they interview us related to our accreditation assessment history, our current compliance, and they decide and determine if we will be awarded reaccreditation for that moving forward. As I mentioned, all the years of review include interviews, so we are able to highlight new or noteworthy areas of interest. As I said, we completed our remote review last week. The assessor interviewed Lieutenant Tondro as well as Training Officer Caldwell on our recruitment and retention program, as well as our training and preparation for active attack and active shooter incident management. As you know, both of these are very successful endeavors for the Portsmouth Police Department. This agency should be very proud of what the Personnel and Training Department has done, in particular recently, and that was an opportunity for us to highlight that to the CALIA assessor, and I think he was impressed. Lieutenant Hood was interviewed regarding our juvenile programs. Sergeant Connor, Lieutenant Hood, and Lieutenant Kyberd were interviewed on our field training and evaluations program as well. As you know, juvenile program has achieved really strong relationships with service providers in our community, and Lieutenant Hood was honored by the Chase Home just this past year. Our field training program is the in-house training that our newly hired officers attend once they graduate from the academy. And we just went through those in charge of that went through a careful revision process of our policy, making sure that we are employing best practices in terms of training our new officers once they complete the academy before they hit the road with us. So really important elements that we were very happy to highlight during that review process. Moving on to state accreditation, just in the last few years, the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training reestablished a state level accreditation program. So it had existed years ago. They decided to re-implement it through the New Hampshire Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission, and we signed on to be a participant in May of 2024. So we started that process with them in May of 2024. State accreditation has 110 standards, so it's not quite as large in terms of the scope and size of CALEA, and there is some overlap, but we learned through the process that it's not apples to apples. Just because we're compliant in something in CALEA that's similar to a state standard, we have to look at that state standard independently and prove compliance with that standard. So that was a good learning process for us, and a good learning process for the state program as well, because they're still growing their program and still understanding how they can serve agencies that want to do both CALEA and state accreditation. So we successfully prepared for state accreditation. We did a mock assessment. We brought in law enforcement agencies in New Hampshire that are state accredited. They picked us apart, gave us feedback, helped us prepare, and we were awarded state accreditation in April of 2026, so just a couple of months ago. So this does make the Portsmouth Police Department the first law enforcement agency in New Hampshire to be duly accredited with both CALEA Advanced and state accreditation. So an excellent milestone for this department to have achieved. As I mentioned before, we also just completed our CALEA review that wrapped up quickly last week, thankfully. Our assessor with CALEA is a retired chief of police. He served in that position for 3 different cities. And as a CALEA assessor, he's handled more than 600 agency assessments. So a very experienced individual in terms of assessing law enforcement agencies for CALEA. And I am happy to report that his feedback was that we had exemplary compliance, that our files were very well prepared, and we look forward to taking that forward into our on-site assessment in the new year. And we remain duly accredited, so that was nice. We had a little pocket of time between April and May where I was like, we're duly accredited, but let's wait till that May review gets complete so we can stay that way. One of the reasons that we can be really successful with accreditation is that we are well supported by a regional program manager for CALEA and a very robust group of agencies that meet monthly in Concord to discuss accreditation issues, challenges, solutions. It's known as NEPAC, the Northern New England Police Accreditation Coalition. It's an excellent resource. We take full advantage of it. We go to the meetings. We contact the members of NEPAC when we have questions, if we're hung up on something, and the monthly meetings provide training. And then they have a conference every other year with even more training for us. So it allows us to really stay on the forefront of the accreditation process and gives us a lot of resources that we can go to when we have problems or questions. So leading in from that, so why do we do it? Why is accreditation important? Why do we bother? Why are we putting in all this effort? And both state and CALEA accreditation provide law enforcement agencies with a framework, specific guidelines so that we can review carefully and reflect on our policies and best practices. We use this framework to ask ourselves, where do we excel? Where is there opportunity for improvement? And where could a change in course maybe benefit the agency? So accreditation isn't the purpose. We're not doing it just because we want to be accredited, just because we want that award. We're using accreditation as the guide. It's a guide for formulating and revising our policies, for implementing and refining practices that build a strong department and create efficiencies. And it can even be a guide for agency philosophy. How do we want to position ourselves when we approach new challenges that we have to face? So an example of that, artificial intelligence, it's part of our lives now. It's involved in almost everything we do every day, whether we're actively using an AI prompt or it's running in the background of applications that we use all of the time. It's going to be interwoven into all aspects of our personal and professional lives. And Portsmouth PD was among the first law enforcement agencies in this region to implement a policy on using AI in the workplace. So we took what we learned from CALEA, we took what we learned from even NEPAC, who brought this idea forward, and we built this policy as a foundation. We can use that to revise, add policy structure as time goes by, adapt. AI is going to be rapid implementation into what we do in our workplace, and so we wanted to be out ahead of it. Accreditation provides the opportunity for us to identify those areas and get out in front of it to be at the forefront. Recently, Lieutenant Kybert and I attended a CALEA conference where the theme at CALEA was AI in law enforcement. How can agencies proactively position ourselves to be aware of the benefits of AI and be aware of the potential pitfalls as well? So how will we encounter AI in what we do in our regular duties every day? How will we use it in investigations? How might we see it in terms of hiring policies and practices? So with all of this in mind, we can formulate our policy, we can formulate our practices, we can educate our personnel, we can keep up with that rapid pace of development. And accreditation, again, provides the framework and the guide for us to work from. Ultimately, this is all so that we can meet the highest standards in public service. Between CALEA and state accreditation, there are over 500 standards that we must meet to maintain compliance each and every year. We organize and provide thousands of pieces of proof of compliance. But we're not just ticking boxes. We are carefully considering the details of all levels of the department's activities. Our presence, our reliability, the aptitude that we do our jobs and bring to the community. The attention is required not just for the most consequential, not the most critical, not always just the high liability, but the routine, the mundane, the everyday, the things that are at all levels of the agency. I can proof a purchase order and a police report for a critical incident and everything in between. It also provides legitimacy. Legitimacy for how the community can trust the agency, how we conduct ourselves, our colleagues and our community can trust that our officers and all of our personnel perform our duties to a high standard. We demonstrate accountability and we demonstrate transparency. We listen to the community, we're willing to address concerns, we're willing to fix mistakes and build a better department from there. Every part of the agency through accreditation is open to examination. So as part of that, a major aspect of accreditation is risk mitigation. Reduction of risk happens when we have modern and comprehensive policies, when we have efficient and thorough practices, and regular internal review and documentation. So we review what we're doing. We're looking at current statistics. We're looking at what's changing, and we're making decisions based on current information. And as you all know, this is reflected in our reduced rates for the agency for liability and insurance coverage. So there's a tangible effect to what accreditation provides as well. There's inherent reduction in risk and inversely an increase in confidence and credibility when we're monitoring ourselves to ensure that we're utilizing best practices. We're identifying issues and correcting them before they present a problem. This self-monitoring also provides some consistency, which is really helpful, positions the agency when there's infrastructure change, when there's organizational change. We have structure and policy in place to help position the agency to handle that kind of change that might happen. Now, it does sound like a lot of work, and it is, but I will say with total truthfulness that this is not difficult for me in terms of demonstrating compliance, because the people that come to work for Portsmouth Police every day are doing their absolute utmost best. They are the ones that are doing the hard job. They're the ones that are doing the difficult things. And they're proactive, they're thorough, they're thoughtful, they're careful. Leadership is taking an active role in oversight and support, not just for the everyday, but for the accreditation as well. And as I said, decisions are based on current information, not just because it's something we've always done that way. I have to say I have the pleasure of working with colleagues who show up and put in real effort every single day. So providing this department, proving that this department is in compliance with this really high set of standards that cover such a broad scope across all aspects is not exactly simple, but with this department and the personnel, it's not actually all that hard. So if I could ask for a takeaway, it's that accreditation imparts confidence that Portsmouth Police demonstrates excellence in all aspects of our work. We demonstrate excellence in the execution of our responsibilities to our community every single day. Accreditation shines a light on this and provides the guidance and the direction. Through leadership from this commission, the chief, deputy chief, our business operations manager, and others, dedicated to the work and the transparency involved in maintaining accreditation. We will strive to meet the high standards and the city and the community that we serve. And in closing, I just want to say that I feel privileged every day that I have the opportunity to work at this agency. Dedication and integrity is really part of the fabric, and I've been so happy to learn that since I started a year and a half or so ago. It's a wonderful place to work and discover and work with the hardworking people that show up every day. I show up and I am impressed and I am inspired by my colleagues, and I am very grateful to be part of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from?
I just want to say thanks, Kate. And obviously you guys can see how passionate she's about her job and the standards that she keeps for herself. I mean, she just had a phenomenal speech on accreditation. And she loves her work, and she's very good at her job, and she holds us all accountable. And, you know, as she's already stated, the quality of work that many of our employees do here is outstanding. And, you know, part of it is through accreditation, we all holding ourselves to a high standard, and Kate holds the department to the very highest standards, and she's been a great addition to our department. I just want to thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
Chris, appreciate your work as well.
If I may too, I think, you know, Kate said at the end she's been here for a year and a half. Let's keep that in mind. And I think she's right in the sense that, you know, other people, she's wrong in the sense that other people are doing hard work, which makes her job easy. That's not the case. I spent some time in professional standards, so I know what it takes to find a proof. I know what it takes to make that proof work. I know what it takes to go through a file review, as does Jackie. Jackie was my mentor and my teacher. And Kate wasn't an accreditation manager before she came here. She learned the job as she got here. And as she got here, we said, here's your new job. Here's how to do it. And by the way, we're a little behind, so you have to learn your new job, clean up a little bit of a mess we have for you, and you have a file review in about 9 months. And you can see in 18 months or so where Kate has gotten us, where Kate's taken us. Andy sprinkled in the fact that midway through or towards the beginning of those 18 months, we said, oh, by the way, we're going to add another level of accreditation onto you, which wasn't exactly sold to her at the time. I think she was hired, but she had to be probably the first person in the state to compare CALIA standards and state accreditation standards. And they didn't always line up, because CALIA might tell you to do the same thing one way, and the state may tell you to do the same thing slightly different. So you have to kind of navigate, how do we do both and keep both people happy? And I would say Kate's probably the first person in the state to kind of have to navigate that. And, you know, like the chief said, when Kate talks about the hard work on the team, she's just as much part of the team as anybody wearing a uniform or anywhere else, because it's an incredibly difficult job. It can be monotonous. It can be tedious, but Kate's description of her job and her speech speaks for itself. So I thank you as well, and thank Lieutenant Kyburd, who, in a similar circumstance, got put into the office in the middle of kind of a raging storm and had to hit the ground running as well. So make no mistake about it, they're as equally a part of this team as the people who Kate says make her life easy, because I can tell you it's not. So.
Preview. Lieutenant Kyburd is Kate's assistant, I think. Is that the best way to? I just want to say I love to brag about the Portsmouth Police Department up at the legislature, and I say, I said it's one of the best, maybe the best police department in the state of New Hampshire. And what's so wonderful about the accreditation work you have done, Lieutenant Kyburd has done, is it's not just me talking. It's backed up. We are the first agency in the state to have both state accreditation and CLIA accreditation. And I mean, it's so obvious from what you do and what you've told us about that it's a serious process. It's not a check the box process. And that we continue to do that, get pulled by the accreditation standards and push towards them. It really is meaningful to someone like me, though I've been in the criminal justice system as a participant, not as a defendant, for over 40 years now. I continue to learn how what a high-quality police department is, and I'm lucky to be on a police commission that has this quality of a police department, as reflected by the below-the-radar work that you do, Lieutenant Kyburd does. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Am I seeing Lieutenant Tendero in the back there?
Yes, that's him.
Why don't you come up forward, Lieutenant?
Tom.
Spectator.
Yeah, you blew it. We know, but I think the general public doesn't know that as much as they should, how ever since I've been on the police commission, it's now going on 4.5, almost 5 years, we've struggled mightily coming out of the pandemic with hiring the full complement of officers we want to have to be the best police department possible. And that's been an ongoing process. 3 months ago, we were down to 60 officers when we need to be at 70. Mm-hmm. But what we've been learning over the past 2 weeks is that through the efforts of hiring and retention that you've put in as running that operation, we've just hired 7 new officers, so we will shortly be staffed with 67 officers. 6 of the 7, as I understand it, are going to the police academy in July, beginning of July, is that right?
August 24th.
Okay. So they'll be online as officers by the first of next year, loosely. So I wanted to thank you for and have the commission thank you for such a difficult job that you've done so well. We've been fighting this battle for a while, and it often has looked really hopeless. So I don't know what it is you did. Some secret sauce, but it really is going to make a huge difference in the police department. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I just would like to say quickly, Hannah Evans works closely with me in my position, and I certainly couldn't do it without her, so I'd like her to be recognized as well. She does a great job.
So recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Grants and donations. Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept the U.S. Department of Justice OJJDP grant in the amount of $380,178 for the New Hampshire Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force and forward it to the City Council for its action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Further motion?
I will make a motion to accept the unsolicited gift card donation in the amount of $30 for the Portsmouth Police Department and forward that to the City Council for its action.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Crime analyst report?
Sure, certainly. We're looking at the month of, year-to-date through April 30th, comparing 2026 to the average of the last 3 years for the same time period. In particular, calls for service are down 33% to 9,257. Arrests are down 219 from 283, that's 22%. DWI arrests are up at 29 compared to 28. Offense reports are at 656 compared to 761. Reportable motor vehicle crashes are down 12% at 120 from 137. And motor vehicle stops or offenses are 1,496, down 38% from about 2,400. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is traffic stats, particular for the month of April. We had 420 motor vehicle stops in the month. 10 summonses were issued, and there were 30 reportable motor vehicle crashes, which were 4 more than the month of March.
And just to pick up from where we left off with Lieutenant Tondro, the huge decline in the number of motor vehicle offenses so far this year and in this month, or excuse me, in the month of April, is a reflection of staffing issues in the police department more than anything.
Yeah, being down 10 officers certainly has an impact on that. And as the chief mentioned a meeting or two ago, the lack of enforcement on motor vehicle inspection stickers also plays a role, because we would customarily stop a lot of cars for inspection sticker violations, but through the Attorney General's office, we've been issued a cease and desist to not do that anymore, so that's also reflected in the numbers as well.
And who knows where that's going to play out, but
We'll stand
that's
by.
the current status. Thank you. Any questions for Deputy Chief?
None for me.
Back to financial report.
We're currently 81% through the fiscal year and are tracking at 76%, which is 5% below the cap. And as you know, I track our overtime compared to salary savings from all those open positions, and we're still currently, the overtime overage is still below the salary savings, so we're good. Fourth quarter is usually one of our big expense quarters. Coming up, we have things like we do our ammunition buy. That's usually 15 to 20. I question if it's going to be that low this year, given everything that's happening out in the world. Motorola batteries, and then we also have the second half of all the stipends, contractual stipends. Those land in June, so that'll cut that 5% quite a bit this last quarter. On the FY27 budget, you all received the final budget documents. That includes the city manager recommended reduction. So our submission was $16,189,837, or 7.41% above FY26. We still have a couple work sessions left, and then I think the final vote is in June on that. The grants, we are still waiting to get access to the congressional spending that was approved for us. And we're still waiting on the update for this year's submissions, which was for the Real-Time Crime Center. Again, we're waiting on the JAG grant that we submitted that's going to upgrade our rifles. Excuse me. And then lastly, Captain Small and I are doing the New Hampshire Highway Safety Grant application, which will start in October. The strategic plan, everybody has their requests out. I've started receiving division department updates for the 2026-2030 plan. Those are all due by Friday, and then I'll start compiling it.
So, go back to the real-time center.
Crime Center.
Is that, we're waiting to find out?
We're waiting to see, we applied for a grant to get funding
Correct.
to look at purchasing a real-time,
So we've applied for the
the
grant.
software, the grants, all the
Everything together.
backside of.
So we're just waiting to
what we
hear
need.
whether we get it or
Correct.
not.
Right, I mean, we did get a notification from Senator Shaheen's office, and our project is on her list that she submitted.
It made it to the list of appropriations. Now, they still have a selection process on which ones they'll approve.
We would be the first department in New England, is it, or northern New England?
Well, there are some departments that have real-time crime centers, but what we're trying to do in creating a smart city, which would be for all city government, primarily for police, fire, and DPW, we'd be using the parts of the program for the whole city.
Which would be unique.
Unique.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Yep.
I think we are, let me just go to menu. That is it for today's meeting. Our next meeting is, scheduled meeting is Tuesday, June 16th at 2026. Make sure to check the municipal meetings calendar on the city's website. There may be updates on that, but that's the current schedule. And I encourage everyone to enjoy the somewhat warm weather and drive safely.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.